truth be told, to Ronald as usual. And as you know, all of you are watching us tomorrow. We'll be celebrating old people in our areas, or elderly, or around the world. And Uganda celebrations will be in Masaka. So if you are there and you are Jajja, you can book your Gaga bus or any bus and you head to Masaka. President Museveni will be there and many other people will be there. Today, my guests, the ones I have here, are people who connect or who are associated with old people. And they'll be discussing different things, policies, problems, solutions that are facing people in our area, mostly old people, our judges. In Runyanko, they call them Kuku, Nyakwenkuru, call it whatever. Those people who are in that age. And among the things we want to talk about is, what do you think, you people there, I want you even to have that discussion in your minds, you are watching. Do you think elder in Uganda has been considered? We've seen many Ugandans going abroad, and we hear the work they do is to take care of those old people. I want first to introduce Dr. Rema. Say hi to our viewers.
Good evening, viewers. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for hosting me towards the International Day for Older Persons that will take place tomorrow. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, Dr. Rema has a PhD, is a researcher from Makerere University, and also she's a social anthropologist. You can Google that word if you've never heard of it, and you get to know that I have a right person who will be talking to us. And also, on my side, I have Gloria. Gloria, you can say hi to our viewers.
Good evening, viewers. Very happy to be here, and thank you for watching.
Yeah, I'll be later joined by Honorable Mwezo, who is on his way. I know in a few minutes he will be here. But before we proceed, I want to start with Dr. Rema. I want you to tell us, who is older person? Who is old person? As a researcher, as someone who has mastered that.
Okay. So an older person depends on the context in which we are seeing the person. So in Uganda, our constitution defines older persons as any adult above the age of 60 years. Other countries have different definitions, have different cutoff for old age. Some countries start from 65 and others 70. In research, especially health research, where I'm more engaged, some studies will start from 50 years. So I would say there is no universally accepted definition, although the United Nations has recommended 60 years as a cutoff for older persons.
So for Uganda,
it is 60.
60. So do you see people of 60 years of age as a vulnerable group, according to your research?
Yes, yes, it depends. Vulnerability depends. It differs from one group of people, one context, one community to another. But generally from the age of 60, we become vulnerable to certain things. We become more vulnerable to diseases. We tend to fall sick more often, and certain diseases are associated with older age, especially non-communicable diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure. Now these days we are aging with HIV because more people, less people are dying from HIV, so this means that more people are aging with HIV. So very soon HIV will become an old age disease. Research also tells us that disability is more common in old age. Approximately 60% of people above the age of 60 get impairments, physical impairments, or disabilities with their different or limited functionality in different parts of their bodies. It could be the senses, it could be the limbs, walking or moving your body. So yes, we become more vulnerable as we grow. Yes.
Yeah, as a researcher, did you try to look the Ugandan policies as of now that protects old people? Do you think, in your opinion, they're favorable or they're lacking?
Well, she's more from the policy angle, but I know that Uganda has a new policy for older persons that has just been revised. But there's, yeah, there are a number of programs that protect older persons. But I would say that there's a lot that we can still do as a country. When I talk about vulnerability, for example, health-wise, we do not have any priority given to older persons in terms of health. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we get as we grow older. We need better access to health care. We need to, older persons need to be prioritized. One, because they are more vulnerable to health challenges, but also as we age, it becomes harder and harder to access health care because of the mobility challenges that come with old age. Going to the facility itself, but even when you go to the facility, maneuvering the environment and getting the care you need becomes more difficult. We have less human resources that are specialized in healthcare for the elderly as a country. So in terms of policy, there's still a lot we can do to protect.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. Yeah. Let me bring in Gloria Nakajui, Advocacy and Communication Lead, Uganda Parliamentary Forum on Social Protection. Gloria, do you think the policies we have, they match the standards of protecting old people, as someone who has benchmarked other countries?
Well, thank you very much for having me here, and my colleague who has joined in as well. You know, when we talk about policies in this country, of course, there's been that debate that, you know, we have very good policies, but the issues around implementation. And that actually, we see it in practice, yeah? You have policies, but the question is, because older persons don't need policies. Yeah, you might ask me why. The policies are needed by the people that actually implement, but for the older person, what they need are the services. All they want to see is, like doctor says, if I go to the health facility, am I going to be attended to? If I go to, so we have instances where, for instance, in this government right now, for you to access government services, you need a national ID. But we have cases where older persons actually do not have national IDs. And the reason is, for instance, when they were capturing, they couldn't read their fingerprints. We have had that issue. And that actually disables them the more from accessing services, government services. So we have a bit of a bottlenecks in our system that actually do not allow older persons to be able to enjoy the rights, because now we're talking about rights. I think that's the theme for this, yes, the International Day for Older Persons. How do we protect these rights? How do we promote these rights? So we have these bottlenecks along the way, but mostly it's about resources. It's about financing. We have these policies, but they are not fully financed. And of course, I come from the social protection point of view, where we actually talk about issues around vulnerability, and older persons, like you rightly discuss, are among the most vulnerable population groups. But if you're going to have systems or tools in place that again disable them from accessing some of these would-be rights, accessing healthcare, accessing, let's say, from the social protection point of view, the Senior Citizens Grant that is meant to support them to be able to, I mean, I know we have had this argument.
We know when you say Senior Citizen Grant, someone may think,
yes,
some big money is given to old people.
We've had this argument earlier, but
25,000.
So maybe to put it in yes, maybe to put it in context. So social protection comes in different measures, yeah, in different forms. So for instance, right now, the intervention that targets older persons is a cash grant that targets older persons that are aged 80 years and above. But of course, as Doctor indicated, older persons in this country start at 60 years. So, but because of resource challenges, government started targeting older persons that are above 80 years. And these ones receive a cash grant of 25,000 Uganda shillings to help them be able to access basics of life, like say buy a bar of soap, because if you look at, and I mean that can also be debated, because if you're going to say you're giving these people 25,000 shillings for the last 10 years since that program started, the question is going to be, I mean, there's been inflation.
And not whole of Uganda is covered, right?
No. Right now it is all covered because this is a national program. So the reason why, so it's called a national rollout because initially they were covering older persons 65 and above, and it was in a few districts. So in 2018, government adopted what we call the national rollout. But the catch here was, we're going to roll it out in every district, but we're going to increase the age. So you increase the age, that means you're going to reduce the number of people you're going to target. So now we're targeting, we have now about 350,000 older persons who are receiving that grant. But again, back to the question is, we have issues of adequacy. This money, 10 years later, it's no longer, it can't buy you the same basket of goods and services that you bought 10 years ago. So it's now, studies have shown that we are now at, its value is at 14,500. I mean, 10 years later, definitely. So I think the issue really is, yes, we have policies in place, there's been these interventions in place, but are they adequate? That's the question. Are they actually fully funded?
Okay, do you find it useful with all the things, with all those questions rotating on that matter, for people to go and celebrate, like to have a day like tomorrow, and the government spends all that money that we know that government spends such kind of function? Yes,
there are two ways to look at all this, right? In one way, you could say, you know, we could have used that money actually to maybe add on this particular grant, yeah, and maybe have more people receiving this grant or reduce the age of eligibility. But I mean, the question would be, how much money are they spending in Masaka? I haven't looked at that budget. But then also there is the other thing. Can we actually go to Masaka and reflect about these issues? Exactly. Can we stop and think through what exactly are we doing for older persons? Is it adequate? And right now, if you have a theme that is talking about promotion and protection of the rights of older persons, so I think that the Masaka then provides you a platform to be able to rally the population around that particular cause. Because people are going around on so many things. So sometimes you need to stop and actually make people remember. Yeah, that's why we have these international days, for people to reflect. Sometimes it's not really about a celebration, but a reflection. Yeah, I mean, there are things that older persons are celebrating. For instance, they now have what we call the special...
I want you to look at this. We're in a country where something like SAGE, that small money that is given to those old people in a budget, is not prioritized, I can't say, because the report shows that just this year, over, is it 30,000 older people will not receive SAGE?
Yeah, 30,000.
Right? If it goes like this, or we'll have to see them receive for the half year, and then it's off there.
Yeah.
Then, but you can plan, and I want to think that 100% of the budget for the function is there. Think about, you advise ministry. I want to say that ministry works hand in hand with you.
It's not 100% of the money is actually in the budget. That's why we're calling it a budget shortfall. So the budget requirement is 121 billion shillings. But you get back to finance, and finance has provided a ceiling. So they're expecting the ministry to actually budget within that ceiling they have provided. And remember, in the previous financial year, we had what they called a budget, a blanket cut to all monies that are considered that fall under social protection interventions. Yeah. So there was a 20% budget cut to all those, they call them subventions. And when it comes to subventions, most of the social protection interventions fall under there. So SAGE inclusive also suffered under that fate. So now that we want to call it an error, because you already have these people, you're already giving them money, and then you budget, but then you do not provide money for them. So the challenge that we have had is that we have not been going back to correct that error. So that error is being carried forward in each budget year.
Thank you very much, Gloria. Honorable Mwezo, you are welcome. And I have this to say. You sit in a parliament which give Roko money, which give Atiak money, but you can cut this small money that should be given to old people, and you're part of that parliament.
I want to know who cuts in it. Because the budget is it's for the president. And you all realize that, the other time that the president recalled the budget and he terribly cut whatever he wanted to cut. It's our role to budget, it's our role to appropriate, but I think that role has been taken by the president. And that's the reason that he says that, he said at one time that himself, the Speaker of Parliament, and the Chief Justice sat and discussed the budget. You see?
It's like you're saying you don't have, you can't play a role of appropriation.
Powers. The budget is for the president, and even when we appropriate, he says we have no powers.
What are you trying to tell Ugandans?
That
I just want to get you
that
what
the president, I mean that
is responsible.
This government does not look critically at older persons. It's not a priority for them to be given as senior citizens their money that is in the program.
That is 25,000.
25,000, yes, true. But I wasn't in Parliament, but I recently heard they wanted to increase it to 30,000?
Yes.
Yes, 30,000.
Honorable Moiso, what do you think should be done to protect these people?
Number one, older persons have greater challenges, particularly those that are in the city, because some of them have no where even to cultivate food. They have stolen their land, that their livelihood is at stake, and therefore, as Ugandans, I think we need to give them a priority and give them a little more money for them to be able to live. When you look at 25,000, it's very little that it cannot take an older person a mile. I suggest that we even increase it to 100,000 because the money is available. You've talked about the monies that we expend on Atiak Sugar, the money that we expend on regional parliaments, you know, because the first thing that we should look at is the livelihood of our people. When you have a diseased community, when you have a suffering community, it's unproductive. And therefore, we need, I think, to give them priority. When you look at the older persons, first of all, the age is too big. The age range is too huge. 80 years plus. Where are you going to get that older person? President Museveni, he has just entered the range.
Yes.
He has just entered the range.
He needs to be enrolled to a program.
He has just been enrolled. And, you know, I am a person who always spends a lot of time in the field. I have tried to trace people 80 years and above. There are just a few out there.
And you're saying it from perspective of a city. For information, I've read a report where I think they are coming there, where these people are indicating districts which have over 5,000 old people on their lists that are receiving SAGE. Can you come in and clarify that, Gloria? I know you've also read those reports where there's one district there in northern Uganda, which we know that they have just settled. They have over 50,
Not 50, 5,000.
5,000 people.
So maybe to comment on that, so this program started now 13 years ago, yeah? And when it started, it was not 80 years and above. We started at 60 years for most vulnerable districts like Karamoja. And then there was a 65. So when the age was moved upwards, they did not drop these districts that actually had from 60 and 65. So those were maintained. So that is why you see there are some districts that actually have higher numbers, because for them they target 60 years, Karamoja in this case. So they target 60 years. So, I mean, 60-year-olds are more than if you would think about the 80 years old. So that's where the discrepancy comes in. But also I wanted to note about what Honorable had indicated about the resolution of Parliament, to just to confirm that there was a resolution of Parliament in 2018, November 2018, where it was, and that is the time when we had the national rollout approved. So when at approval, the agreement was that the age of eligibility, which is now 80 years, will be progressively reduced or gradually reduced until we get to 60 years. So from 2018, it was supposed to be like every year we're supposed to be reducing the number. So by now, really, from 2018, we would probably be at what, 60 or maybe 65. So that has not happened. Yeah. Okay. And then also when it comes to the value of the grant, so the arrangement was you increase, no, you reduce the age and then also increase the value of the grant to, of course, that resolution talks about 30,000 shillings. I know Honorable is being very generous and talking about 100,000, but I mean the Parliament resolved that we should move it to 30,000.
Okay, I want to bring in Doctor. In your research, do we have homes in Uganda that take care of old people? Do we have a policy that can see old people? Because I heard that in those developed countries, there's an age you get, even if you want or you don't want, they will just take you to older people's homes. And these people here, they say, tukola mbiyumba by'abakadde, tulabirira abakadde, tunaza abakadde. You've heard those words from people who are working abroad. In your research, as we're doing this elderly study, what did you find out? Do we have such kind of care in Uganda? Is it affordable?
First of all, I want to start by I don't want to lose track of what Honorable and Gloria are talking about on the issue of SAGE. Honorable has noted that the president cut the budget, so and that he decides. We have seen cases where people have advocated for budget increments, and it actually works. So I believe that with advocacy, if we can prioritize one, research, and we get our facts right, and then we use those research findings to advocate and provide evidence that we actually need more money because of this and this and this, or these are the needs that we need to be met. I think when budgets are being cut, they also look at maybe areas where there's, first of all, there's no one following up, or like there's quite not a lot of noise, in quotes, as other areas, yeah? I'm sure if you were to cut budgets going, for example, to women programs in the country, you may not have it very easy, yeah. But if you're cutting a budget for older persons, you walk away with it.
So you think there's little advocacy for older people?
Exactly.
There's a whole 5 MPs in Parliament that represent MPs, older persons.
That's right.
Specifically.
That's right. But I think they also need support. They need support from researchers to provide evidence. They need support from civil society organizations that are in the grassroots, in the communities working with these people. Yeah. So we need advocacy from everyone, from all stakeholders concerned. So it's not enough for us to sit back and say the budget has been cut, so that's it. And secondly, again, on the issue of social protection, I think we don't need to limit our focus on only the cash transfers as the only form of social protection possible. Like I've said, that healthcare is a big challenge when you become old and your mobility is impaired and your health bills are increasing and you're having all sorts of health challenges. So if we could have other ways of other forms of social protection for elderly people. If we prioritize their care at all government facilities, for example, if we have special days for them at the government facilities, or if we have some kind of affirmative action in, say, in HIV clinics, in diabetes clinics, and those clinics, and say priority must be given to these categories of people. So there's a lot we can do in terms of social protection, and not only focusing or limiting our focus on that.
30 seconds and answer my questions.
Yes.
About elderly homes. Do
yes,
we need
so
them?
going to
Have
the
you seen them
elderly
anywhere?
homes.
Are they affordable?
In Uganda, there are still very few. But I want to tell you that even in developed countries where there are many, they are not the preferred mode of care for older persons. Many older persons, I've seen this from research, but I've also seen it myself, where I've gotten an opportunity to visit some of these homes away from here, that elderly people do not usually prefer to be taken to these homes. There's what we call aging in place. People prefer to age in a familiar environment, where in the comfort of their homes and within or among the people that they are a bit familiar with. Nonetheless, we need these facilities, yeah, because at some point care for elderly people becomes practically so difficult, and in Uganda families are increasingly becoming constrained. There's literally no one available to stay and take care of elderly people. So we need government to attract investors instead of food processors, sugar companies and stuff like that. Let's support investors who are willing to invest in such.
Okay, Honorable Mwezo, this goes to you. You as a person, and also from the perspective of politics and the party you come from, do you have a policy that would see these elders living better life than they are living now in case you take power?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to agree with my sister that our culture here does not believe in elderly homes. And I think I have people out there that are dealing with the elderly homes, and they are benefiting a lot, but in Uganda it may be impossible. Here in Uganda we have a big challenge before I go to your answer. Even the database itself that NIRA captured is still wanting. You are aware that the majority of our people did not give right information that was captured by NIRA. You know, majority of them, according to my findings, you find that they lowered their age, and therefore they cannot benefit from the programs. You find
And that is hypocrisy in Ugandans.
No,
if
no.
they could just know their age, what was the intention of
Some
knowing
of
their
them
age?
did not know their age, actually.
Right.
Bagamba, I was born after Museveni. Is it Museveni? Museveni?
Obote, those people there.
No, the Museveni.
There were 7.
The Museveni.
Yeah.
That's all they remember.
Yeah.
And you find someone telling you that, you know, I am of this age, but what is captured on the national ID is different. And she cannot, or he cannot access money. We have majority of those. And when actually he wants to change, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
It's about 300,000 for you to take, how do you call it? In the
Change your
Gazette.
idea.
In the Gazette.
You have to go to the Gazette, then sign a
You have to go to the
statutory
Gazette, you have to
declaration.
see
You need to look
lawyers.
a lawyer, basically.
You
Get
have
a
to use
statutory
lawyers, then go to
declaration.
the Gazette, pay 300,000. All together it may take 500,000. Now where is this person going to get this money?
And the physical movements required.
But as NUP, we believe that we need to look after the old people. And therefore, we hope to plan for them, give them health care, like Shaz said. Our health care system is wanting. Here in Uganda, we don't believe in supporting older persons. You find a younger child, I mean a youth like you in a bus, you cannot even give space to an older person. Out there, it is obvious. They are even labeled. Their chairs are labeled. Parking spaces for elder persons. But here, it's never. And we, as political leaders in NUP, we hope that we shall have a policy on that.
Honorable Mwezo, of these days, we've seen many elderly people being thrown away from their lands. The lands are being taken. It's one of the biggest challenges I've seen. I myself, being a journalist, I faced many old people, my grandmother's age, calling me for help. Don't you think
Very
that
many
you
of
politicians and people in power, you are sleeping on a job?
We are
Plus, also, I'll come to the same question. Gloria, I will come to you. You have
I
2
shouldn't
minutes.
say that we are sleeping on the job. Land issue is very delicate, and you're all aware that we have very many landless people, according to the laws of Uganda. You know, there are people that have had the bibanjas and sold off their bibanja illegally. You sell off a chibanja to someone like you illegally, according to the laws of Uganda, because in actual sense, you're supposed to see the landowner before even you sell. So we have very many such categories. And that's the reason that you say that many of them have been chased away from their land. We have these mafias that majority of our people, particularly older persons, have no titles, but they own bibanjas. And because the landowners are not benefiting, they sell to people with guns. And they come and push these old people from the land, which is illegal actually. But I believe many have been helped by us, and we still emphasize that the laws relating to land must change to cater or give protection to people, to vulnerable people of the kind.
Yeah, of recently we saw government giving out free land titles. What do you have to say about it? Do you credit this government for that?
I do credit it, but we still want to request government to do that in the central region, where land is expensive. They are doing that in Hoima. You know, land is more expensive here, but the land fund has not been operationalized. And that's where we think we would get money to buy land for the vulnerable people, particularly in Milo land. That's where we have major problems. So that one, we credit the government, but I want it to begin buying land in Uganda for the people that are particularly...
Thank you very much, Honorable. I will come back to you. Gloria, you are sleeping on the job. Your role is protecting these people. Their land is being grabbed. They're being thrown away. At least in the everyday news, if you're watching, there's some old woman who's crying somewhere, whose land is being taken. And we're busy in Kampala cruising, sitting in hotels, having conferences.
Yeah, you're very right. And I know Honorable has very well elaborated about the issue of land. But I think we've been trying to make sure that we switch this discussion from trying to be more reactive, but try to be more proactive. And that we've been talking about vulnerability. Yeah, and that is the biggest question. How do our people become vulnerable? And I think the issue is that we wait for situations where actually we need to go running, you know, kind of chitezi kind of things. You wait for the thing to collapse and then you enter in for you to try and rescue, which is our biggest problem. But from our side as social protection, we are saying, can we try and make sure that we are building a resilient population from the time the child is conceived? Take care of mothers, yeah? Take care of children. Have these children immunized so that they are able to achieve their full potential. If you have a child who is immunized, you have a child who has had good nutrition, they're able to grow and achieve their full potential. And you know what you're doing? You're going to be able to have a labor force that is able to produce to their capacity. And what that means, you have more income going to the people, but also going to the government. And that means that you're going to have less people who are vulnerable when they are old, because these people also have the knowledge to be able to register their land, to be able to secure their land, but also these people have the income to be able to not wait for your SAGE, right? So we're talking about SAGE, but if you have supported your population from the time someone is born, you're going to have less people that are actually vulnerable when they are old. So I think that's where the issue is. And the more we keep talking about vulnerabilities at old age, we are missing opportunities right now. We say that we have this very huge, our population is very, they call it broad-based, so we have more young people than older ones. But the question is, these young people today are going to be old tomorrow. So what have you done to make sure that you do not repeat the same mistake with the ones that you have right now?
In half a minute, I want you to tell me what you think briefly, the points that you would say that I think if these things are done, the old person there in Chana, Mkaka, in Masaka, in Mtoma will benefit, and we will see these people aging in glory.
Yeah, of course, right now we need to come up with interventions that now help us to solve the problem that we've created. Yeah, and now, for instance, we need to be able to support them, like we've said, we're supposed to support them to be able to secure their land, because that land is one of the issues that where vulnerability is coming from. But also the second one is that we're supposed to be able to support these people to access services like national registration services. We need to know our older persons. Yeah, we lack a database. So if they asked you how many older persons are in your LC, do you even know them? Is there a place where you can just tap and be able to know everyone in your community and then be able to categorize them according to age so that you can come up with interventions that actually target those people? So we come up with policies, but also some of them are blind. You don't actually know how many people you're targeting. Yeah, they've told us there is PDM, for instance, supposed to target 10% older persons. But the question is, where are these 10%? So PDM is going to go, it is implemented, but I mean it is not implemented as had been envisioned. And the people that were supposed to be supported are not going to be supported because we do not know them. So issues around data are very, very important. She talked about research. Yeah, research is very, very important to be able to inform how we do our policies. So we all assume that, okay, there are these many old people in our communities, but I mean, if they asked you, how many exactly? Yeah, so we all have like, yes, we did a national census the other day, and well, of course, they released some findings. I think older persons are now at 1.8, if I remember quite well.
2 million.
Approximately 2 million, yeah. So the question, if right now someone told you, okay, how many older persons are in Nakawa, for instance, 8 years and above? I don't know if Honorable Balimwezi actually knows exactly where those people are. We do not have a database that actually quickly gives us that data. If something hit Nakawa right now, you start...
Thank you very much, Greg. Doctor, I want to come to you.
We had a very serious problem during COVID.
Exactly.
To find those older persons, and we couldn't.
You're trying to support people, but you
Doctor,
don't know them.
I want to come to you. From your studies and everything, anyway, you first start with this. Is your studies free? Are they free or they pay to access them?
No one pays. When we conduct a study, we publish. We are supposed to publish. So once we publish, then it should be accessible.
So I want to, the same question I gave to Gloria. What do you think government must do? We don't have, I think we have like 5 minutes to leave this place.
Okay.
You tell me in 2 minutes.
Okay. Allow me half a minute to, before I say what government should do.
And what Uganda should do, because not only government, I think it's our role as a country to protect these old people.
We are all stakeholders in this. So first of all, much as we have broader problems that my colleagues have talked about, of land grabbing that everyone is experiencing, you realize that elderly people are experiencing these problems in a very unique way, at a bigger rate probably than the rest of the population. There's something we call ageism. The kind of discrimination based on age that is deeply rooted in our communities, in our societies, and sometimes even at institutional levels, in some institutions, the thinking that this person is old, after all, what do they need this land for? And it's not only land, let's say property. What do they need this house for? They are old, they are dying soon, or they don't have ambitions, they don't have goals, they don't. So I think we need to sensitize people, we need to tell people that older persons have rights. Yeah? Being 70 years of age does not mean that I don't have my rights as a human being. So we need to start from that point. So if you look at me and I'm 70, I'm 80 and I have a house, I deserve it. So I deserve health care, I deserve to have property, I deserve to access all services like a 30-year-old does, yeah? And probably even much more because of my age and the challenges that comes with that age. So going to what government and the rest of us should do, first of all, I think we need more protective policies. My colleague said that maybe old people need support, not policies. But in many of the governments, even here, money goes where there is policy, where there is a decision of government. So we need better policies. I will emphasize healthcare because it's really very key. We need to sensitize our population on issues of discrimination based on age, including healthcare professionals, but all other service providers. Look at insurance companies. For example, if you want health insurance and you're 70 years and you're just starting it, they will say you are a big risk, you're not insurable. Like such discrimination based on age. I think we need policies and laws that protect people above the age of 60.
Thank you very much, and I will consider those your last words because time is on my side. And Gloria, I want to give you 30 seconds, then I go to Honorable Mwezo. What do you have to tell people there? Community, not government. Just in 30 seconds. I'm strict on 30 seconds, please.
Well, for me, what I need for the population to really start demanding, as Dr. has emphasized, I think we need the National Health Insurance Scheme bill out of that parliament. I think that is it for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable Mwezo. When I'm about to finish this program, I always give my guests, most of the politicians, and I allow them to speak in their local languages so that they can speak directly to their voters. Mu Uganda biki byolowooza ebiyinza okukolerwa abantu abakadde nammwe nga n'okusinga mujja mu gavumenti byogamba nti bino ffe tusobola bikola nga mwabirowoozaako.
Okusookera ddala
olina eddakiika eri emu n'ekitundu.
Ettaka kikulu nnyo okugoba poverty. Nti twetaaga protection of land rights, access to land by the older persons, then security of tenure. Security of tenure chichi. Obwannannyini nga bafuna ebyapa. Ontegera bulungi. Twetaaga okulaba nti abantu abakadde kubanga ettaka kikulu. Twetaaga okulaba nti abantu abakadde bano babeera ne rights zaabwe okufuna ettaka n'okuwoninga ettaka nga ekiri enshrined in the Constitution of Uganda. Ekyokubiri okubeera nti abantu bano babeera n'obwannannyini nga bafuna ne title ku ttaka kubanga ettaka liyamba nnyo mu kugoba obwavu.
Ne mu musingo gamba mwako w'abakadde. So si mu musingo tutambuza eŋŋombo y'okugoba abakadde.
Kakati twagala okumanya nti obukadde magezi era tugenda kufaayo nnyo ffe nga abakulembeze ba NUP nga tutwala eggwanga lino okulaba nti omukadde afiibwako aweebwa kubanga sente weziri. Njagala okutegeeza ku sente weziri twagala okulaba nti omukadde awummuzibwa n'afiibwako kibula nti twagala ne muzeeyi Museveni awummule tumulabirire. Simanyi baki wayagadde njogere tumulabirire kubanga oba oluusi teyeteekateeka bulungi ne tujja mulabirira bulungi.
Kerebu, I saw your message. Kerebu is watching us from, you told me, this is, I forgot, Kakumiro. That's the one I'm serious with. And this is, thanks for that show. Bro, we are on here at Nansana. Thank you for watching, Edith. Thank you for watching, Mumbeja. Thank you for watching, Idris Ramadan. And many other people who are watching and who have sent me messages. I can't read them. And I'm out of here. Have a good night. We meet tomorrow.